In the 1980s and 90s, while Detroit was still bolting fake wood paneling onto station wagons, a handful of Japanese engineers were quietly building cars that belonged in the next century. Touchscreen navigation before almost anyone owned a cell phone. Gull-wing doors that a Formula One legend would later borrow. A folding motor scooter that lived in the trunk. These machines were so far ahead of the curve that the world simply was not ready for them. Most of them flopped, got forgotten, or were never even sold in America. Today we are counting down 9 forgotten Japanese cars that were decades ahead of their time. A quick note before we start. We are skipping the famous heroes. No Supra, no NSX, no R32 Skyline. Everybody knows those. These are the cars that quietly invented the future and then disappeared from the conversation. And the one sitting at number 1 had a feature in 1990 that most American cars did not get until the 2000s. Let's get into it. Number 9, the Nissan Figaro. Picture the streets of Tokyo in 1991. While the rest of the industry was chasing aggressive wedge shapes and sharp angles, a small skunkworks team inside Nissan went the complete opposite direction. The Figaro looked like a 1950s European roadster that had been beamed into the future. Soft pastel colors, round headlights, cream leather seats, even a built-in CD player and air conditioning hidden inside that vintage shell. It was one of Nissan's so-called Pike cars, a series of limited-run design experiments. And here's the part that sounds made up. The Figaro was so wildly popular that Nissan could not build enough of them, so buyers were chosen by lottery. People entered a draw just for the right to spend their money. Retro modern design like this would not become a global trend until the new Beetle and the new Mini arrived years later. The Figaro got there first, then quietly vanished. But the next car on this list hid a secret in its doors that would end up on one of the greatest supercars ever built. Number 8, the Toyota Serra. On paper, the Toyota Serra was a humble, affordable economy coupe. Underneath, it shared parts with the everyday Toyota Starlet. So why is a cheap commuter car on a list about being ahead of its time? 2 words: butterfly doors. The Serra came from the factory in 1990 with dramatic glass canopy doors that swung up and outward, wrapping overhead glass around the cabin like a small spaceship. Nobody was doing this on a normal, attainable car. And the story gets better. Legendary designer Gordon Murray, the man behind the McLaren F1, reportedly owned a Serra and pointed to its doors as an inspiration when he created the upward opening doors on the $1 million McLaren F1 supercar. A budget Toyota, influencing the greatest analog supercar in history. That is exactly the kind of forgotten footnote that makes JDM history so good. Speaking of clever packaging, this next one literally came with a second vehicle inside it. Number 7, the Honda City Turbo 2. In the early 1980s, Honda took its tiny city hatchback and turned it into something nobody expected. The City Turbo 2, nicknamed the Bulldog, packed a turbocharged and intercooled engine into a car the size of a shopping cart, complete with bulging fenders and a hood scoop. It was a pocket rocket before that phrase was cool. But the genuinely visionary part was the accessory. Honda designed a companion vehicle called the Moto Compo, a folding motor scooter that collapsed down into a neat box engineered to fit perfectly in the city's trunk. The idea was that you would drive your city into the crowded city, park on the edge, then unfold your scooter and zip through traffic the rest of the way. That is last-mile urban mobility, the exact concept tech companies would obsess over decades later with electric scooters. Honda shipped it in 1983. Now let's get into a car that asked one simple question: why settle for just one kind of convertible? Number 6, the Suzuki Cappuccino. The Suzuki Cappuccino arrived in 1991 as a tiny, lightweight roadster built to Japan's strict K-car rules, which limited engine size and dimensions. Most companies treated those rules as a cage. Suzuki treated them as a challenge. The Cappuccino had a turbocharged engine mounted behind the front axle, giving it a front-mid layout and a near-perfect weight balance, the same recipe sports car engineers brag about today. But the clever trick was the roof. It used removable panels that let you transform the car into a closed coupe, a T-top, an open targa, or a full convertible, all from the same vehicle. One car, 4 personalities. It weighed almost nothing and handled like a go-kart, and almost no American ever got to experience it because it was never officially sold here. Now we hit the middle of the countdown, and the next car is not subtle in any way. It threw every piece of cutting-edge technology of its era into one body. Number 5. The Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4. If you wanted to see the absolute peak of early 90s Japanese engineering ambition, you looked at the Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4, known in Japan as the GTO. This thing was a technological flex aimed squarely at America's sports car establishment. It had a twin turbocharged V6 all-wheel drive and 4-wheel steering that turned the rear wheels to help it corner. And it kept going. It featured active aerodynamics with a front air dam and a rear spoiler that actually adjusted at speed. It had electronically controlled suspension that changed its stiffness and even an active exhaust that altered its sound. This was 1991. While Detroit was selling muscle cars built on decades-old formulas, Mitsubishi shipped a computer-controlled Grand Tourer that could outscience almost anything on the road. It was even sold through Dodge dealers as the Stealth. The 3000 GT was so loaded with tech that it became heavy and complex, and over time it slipped out of the spotlight that the Supra and NSX kept. But for sheer ambition, almost nothing touched it. If you are enjoying this trip through forgotten JDM history, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. We dig into rare Japanese and classic cars like this every single week, and you do not want to miss what's coming. All right, back to the countdown, and this next one looks like a toy and drives like a supercar. Number 4, the AutoZam AZ1. AutoZam was a sub-brand of Mazda, and in 1992, they released one of the most absurd and brilliant little cars ever made. The AZ1 was a K car, bound by those same tiny size limits, but Mazda built it like a miniature exotic. It had a mid-mounted engine sitting behind the driver, just like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, and it had real gull-wing doors that hinged up toward the sky. A microcar, smaller than a modern subcompact, with a mid-engine sports car layout and gull-wing doors. The driving experience was pure and direct, all for a fraction of a supercar's price. Almost nobody bought it when new, only a few thousand were made, and it quietly faded away. Today, collectors who finally understand what it was are chasing them hard. The next car was far more serious, and its bloodline still runs through one of the most respected names in rallying. Number 3, the Mitsubishi Galant VR4. Before the Lancer Evolution became a legend, before it terrorized rally stages and street races around the world, there was the Mitsubishi Galant VR4. Launched in the late 1980s, this was a 4-door family sedan with the heart of a rally car. It combined a turbocharged engine, full-time all-wheel drive, and active 4-wheel steering in one practical body. Here is why it matters. The Galant VR4 was built to go racing in the World Rally Championship, and it won at the highest level. Mitsubishi then took that all-wheel drive turbo formula, shrank it down, and dropped it into the smaller Lancer to create the first Lancer Evolution. In other words, the car everyone worships as the Evo exists because of the Galant VR4 that came first. The grandfather got forgotten while the grandchild became a poster legend. But our next pick might be the most beautiful forgotten car Japan ever made. Number 2. The Subaru SVX. In 1991, the company famous for rugged, sensible all-wheel drive wagons did something nobody saw coming. Subaru hired the legendary Italian design house Italdesign and its master Giorgetto Giugiaro to create a futuristic grand touring coupe. The result was the Subaru SVX, and it looked like nothing else on the road. Its signature feature was the window within a window glass, an aircraft-style canopy where only a small section of the side glass rolled down inside a larger fixed pane. Under the hood sat a smooth flat-six engine, sending power through Subaru's all-wheel drive. It was a genuine luxury GT from a brand nobody associated with luxury. And it was so expensive to build that Subaru reportedly lost money on every single one they sold. The SVX confused buyers who could not figure out why a Subaru cost so much, and it disappeared after just a few years. Now, for the number 1 spot, a car that did something in 1990 that still feels impossible. Number 1. The Mazda Unos Cosmo. This is the one. In 1990, Mazda built the Unos Cosmo, and it stands as one of the most futuristic production cars of the entire 20th century. Start with the engine. It used a 3-rotor rotary, the only triple-rotor engine ever fitted to a mass-produced car, and it was twin-turbocharged, smooth, exotic, and unlike anything else on the market. But the engine is not even the most shocking part. Sitting in the center of the dashboard, the Unos Cosmo had a color touch screen. From that screen you could control the climate, the stereo, the phone, and most incredible of all, a built-in satellite navigation system. This car is widely credited as the first production vehicle in the world to offer integrated GPS navigation. Think about that. A touchscreen with live navigation in a car in 1990, years before most people had ever touched a cell phone, and roughly a decade before American luxury cars treated it as a feature worth bragging about. Mazda built tomorrow and put it on sale while Detroit was still figuring out cassette decks. The Unos Cosmo was expensive, complex, and arrived right as Japan's economic bubble burst, so it sold in small numbers and slipped into legend. But make no mistake, it was the future, parked in a showroom 30 years early. So there you have it. 9 Japanese cars that looked at the rest of the automotive world and decided to skip ahead a generation. A retro design trend predicted in the Figaro, supercar doors born on a budget Toyota, last-mile mobility solved by Honda in 1983, and a Mazda with navigation and a triple rotor that still sounds like science fiction. The wild part is that these were not concept cars locked in a museum. Real people could buy them, and most of the world just was not ready. That is what makes forgotten JDM history so addictive. The legends get all the attention, but the real visionaries are hiding in the cars nobody talks about anymore. If you want more deep dives into the rare and overlooked machines from Japan's golden era, subscribe and stick around, and drop a comment with a forgotten car you think deserved a spot on this list. We just might cover it next.